Welcome to Nerds Amalgamated, a podcast that covers the latest events in science, pop culture, and gaming.
I'm the professor, aspiring game developer, sci-fi aficionado, and completely and undeniably a geek trying to take over the world. I'll be breaking down the news from tech to gaming.
I am the DJ, a humble nerd, a big weeb,
and a watcher from the halls of the multiverse.
Just kidding. Anyways, I'll be breaking down all things comics to movies to anime.
Join us and stay hydrated as we quench you with witty banter, unintentionally hilarious hot takes, and trivia more fun than a night at the pub, courtesy of Nerds Amalgamated.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerds Amalgamated. We have a wonderful episode this week. We'll be talking about counterfeit Pokemon cards, the price increase of a comic book, and no more card numbers.
Specifically credit card numbers.
Oh yeah. How have you been, Professor?
I've been good.
How was the Cobalt game that you were playing?
Cobalt Core.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing to FTL that isn't FTL.
Oh yeah?
It's a turn-based deck builder about flying a spaceship.
That's so fun. How far into the game are you in?
I've played for about 8 hours, but I'm still only near the beginning. Because as you play, as you win rounds, you unlock memories for the characters you've got, and there's 18 memories to unlock.
Oh shit, that's gonna be a mish for you. As for me, I just saw the Fantastic Four trailer that came out this.
Do we really have to reboot them again? Like, I know they're not going to make anything that's not a comic anymore, apparently, but there are other comics.
I mean, to be fair, the antagonist for for Fantastic Four is Doctor Doom, so you gotta give him something at least. To be fair.
No, I don't.
But with this trailer, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, everything looks comic book accurate. Although I have this fear that even though it looks visually stunning, I wonder how badly written it's gonna be because it's Marvel. So that's my biggest fear on that one. But I like the aesthetic though, as I said. Anyway, so on to our first topic, the counterfeit Pokemon cards. Professor, have you been starting a counterfeit ring that I didn't know about?
No, but I kind of wish I had, because this is a counterfeit ring that is to the tune of millions of dollars.
Damn.
Like tens of millions.
And no one's stopping them.
Well, people know it's out there now, so it's probably going to stop soon. But basically, in the last year or so, alpha playtest Pokemon cards have been showing up online on auction sites, and they've been verified by card grading company. What was it? This is a long article, so I now can't see the name of the company. But they've managed to rope in one of the creators of the game, Takumi Akabane. He has been part of authenticating the cards and signing them, basically adding value to it. I don't know for sure whether he is part of the counterfeiting ring, or he's been fooled as well, or if there were a couple of cards that he had that have been lying around since the 90s that he sold, and then a counterfeiter has begun creating counterfeit cards. But this is a CGC Cards, a card grading company. And the reason they got busted is because of the same thing that governments use to track counterfeit currency and whistleblower reports.
Translation, disgruntled employees.
Not always. Sometimes whistleblowers come out with some really evil stuff. But there's a thing that printers have called the printer tracking dots. They print a machine identification code as a watermark on anything that you print in color. So any color printer will print this watermark very faintly in yellow ink. So it's almost invisible. But with the right tools, you can see the dots and decode them. This has been a thing since the 80s. It came to public knowledge in the mid-2000s when the Dutch government were tracking counterfeiters using them. And the Electronic Frontier Foundation have managed to decode some of these dots on particular printers. So they basically hide the serial number and date of the printout in the image that you print.
I mean, with this level of detail in making those copy cards, it must have fooled a lot of it must have fooled a lot of the graders in the first place.
Yeah, either we don't know who the origin of these fake cards is yet. It could be one of the creators of the game trying to cash in on having an idea that he can cash in. Specifically, what was his name again?
Takumi Akabane.
Yeah, it could be him. It could be the card grader. It could be someone online who has managed to duplicate the cards. They could also, it could be someone online who has created fake cards, sent them to Takumi, had them authenticated by Takumi, who himself doesn't realize that these sorts of things can happen. Yeah, we just don't know who is involved yet. But the printer identification codes indicate that the cards were printed in 2024, not in 1996 or prior to that when they were developing the game. And the person who has collated all this evidence has pointed out that official photographs of a signed card signed by Takumi Akabane, witnessed by CGC, is fake.
Oh shit! Wait, what's CGC saying? And what's CGC saying about this then? If it was fake and they witnessed it, they must come out with a statement saying, "No, what the heck."
I haven't seen a statement from them yet. I'm just going to have a look at their website and see if they've got that. Yes, they have got a statement.
Oh yeah.
They are investigating reports, take these claims very seriously, blah, 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 corpo speak. They claim less than 0.03% of the cards graded by CGC are counterfeit.
0.03. That's a very low statistic.
Yeah.
Wait, that I don't get it. So if they said it's 0.03, then why is this on top of the pile then? What makes it this go up the top of the pile?
Because the value of a counterfeit Pokemon card is so high.
Oh.
Because they're talking about alpha playtest cards. These are by nature the rarest of the Pokemon cards because they were created in limited numbers, extremely limited numbers, for the people who made the game to test them. They weren't printed on cardstock like proper cards were. They've got a breakdown of different variants of cards in the forum thread that I've linked in the show notes.
Yep.
So for the alpha prototypes, they were printed in black and white and are high quality, and then ones that were photocopied from the high quality ones that are low quality.
Yeah, you can't really tell the difference with those two. So both of the pictures I'm seeing right now, Bulbasaur right now. So they're both the authentic ones, or
No, from the thread, it's a long thread. There's over 1,000 posts, so I haven't read all. But the first post collects most of the evidence there. It looks like the alpha cards were printed in color, so there's the prototypes which are black and white only,
yeah.
and therefore have no tracking dots because they were printed on a black and white printer.
Oh yeah, I see, yeah, yeah.
And then the alpha prototypes which are in color,
yeah.
which is where the counterfeit cards seem to have come in, because it's going to be easier to prove that the alpha prototypes are the color ones are counterfeit because they all have the printer identification code.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the alpha prototypes of that Bulbasaur picture. I'm trying to figure out which one's the counterfeit and which one's the real deal.
So yeah, someone out there is inflating the number of alpha cards and making a quick buck off it to the tune of over $10 million. And they've managed to rope in one of the developers of the game and a card grading.
What's Nintendo's what's Nintendo's stance on this? Because this is Pokemon we're talking about here.
I haven't seen anything from Nintendo. Yeah, quick Google doesn't bring up anything from Nintendo about it.
Yeah, this sort of thing, it feels like it's like shoplifting, but in a very, very nasty sense in terms of yeah, the victims are gonna there'll be multiples of victims in this one. Like
Well, what really is amazing is that PFM, who is the one who's collected all this evidence on the elite forum discussion boards, has admitted to owning thousands of dollars worth of these cards, which now have been proven to be fake and have become worthless.
Oh,
He or she could have tried to pass them on and leave someone else holding the bag. But they've gone out of their way to let everyone know that there's fake cards going around.
this is gonna affect a lot of businesses that sell Pokemon cards, and not just in like Japan, like even overseas as well. And you're gonna see a lot more fights at Costco in regards to this.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos of people fighting over Pokemon cards.
Was it Costco or was it or Target?
I have no idea.
Oh yeah, it is. It's Costco.
But here is an actual reason to get in a fight with someone over a card. Because they sold you a card for thousands of dollars that is worthless.
Man, and it's not just you're not only gonna see fights at the stores or anything like that. You're also gonna see like a lot of Pokemon card owners now just shuffling through their collection, saying, what if my Pokemon cards are fake now?" Because how long has this operation been going for now? Like, this must be a pretty long operation.
It looks like at least a year because the cards have print dates in 2024. The good news is, since it's an alpha card and not a standard playing card, there are very few people who will actually own them and be affected by this. But the people who are affected will be affected to the tune of thousands of dollars.
Oh.
It looks like some of the cards sold for up to $200,000 each.
And I think as a result, you're gonna see a lot of like card grading places now up more stringent measures into dealing with this.
Yeah, well, what's always worried me about card grading places is that they send you back your card in a sealed box. How do you know without cracking that box open and breaking the seal and affecting the validity of your card because you could have swapped it out for a photocopy? How can you know that they didn't do that to you? They could have taken your special card, resold it, and sent you back a convincing fake.
Oh, wouldn't there? Isn't there like a customer guarantee thing on most of the grading places?
I'm sure they would get sued. I'm not sure exactly what law they would get sued under, but first they'd need to be caught out.
Like that, you could get charge them under the theft of property or misappropriation of property, but that would be a very hard sell if you want to go after a big company like TCG, for example.
Yeah, you would have to go for some sort of. You'd need massive funding to go against a big company.
And the other thing, this will also affect. It's going to affect businesses that sells printers as well. Can you imagine your printer? Like if you were the guy that was selling the industrial printers to print these cards, like, and your company got implicated in it, that will affect your business big time.
Well, as far as I'm aware, no one's ever found tracking dots in industrial printers. It's only in home printers and office printers. So official Pokemon cards won't have these tracking dots in them.
But aren't there safeguards for printers to stop that stops people from copying them though? Like I used to watch a video where that said that a couple of home printers would stop people from counterfeiting American money, for example.
Yeah,
And if they try and do it, it'll just print a black paper.
yeah, there is supposed to be a anti-counterfeiting feature that prevents you from photocopying money. It's probably less of a concern in countries that have polymer notes, like Australia, Europe, Canada. I'm pretty sure those are actually invented in Australia. But America has a counterfeiting problem because it's easier to counterfeit their money. People call it paper money. It's not technically paper, it's more cloth, but it's still really easy to get the stock that you need to counterfeit the money
Mm.
compared to getting the stock you need to make polymer notes.
And also, the other thing, because we were talking about the alpha prototype cards. If this was to come out, like you are gonna force people to not sell and make or the original people to not give out any more alpha cards if that continued on.
Yeah, it dilutes the value of the originals by making it harder to tell if you have an original.
Yeah, and it's even worse if it's overseas markets as well.
What does the location of the market have to do?
Can you imagine, like, if, for example, that Pokemon card, for example, it's a thousand, it's like $10,000 yen. Okay, $10,000 alpha card would be like for an alpha card. Can you imagine trying to sell that in let's say another country? It'll be twice that value.
I don't think so. I think the value of the cards remains the same no matter where you sell it.
Okay.
So you could take the card from Japan to America or Australia or wherever, and you would just convert the value from yen into dollars.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. So, how long do you reckon before we see another variation of this sort of operation springing out? And even though this shut down, you reckon there's a likelihood that we'll see another one soon?
I hope not. I hope that now people know that it's a thing that happens. There will be more people investigating it to make sure that there aren't counterfeit cards going around. But there is also the interesting thing that people who play these card games often counterfeit the cards themselves for the purposes of playing without damaging their collection. So you'll buy a set of cards and then photocopy them and play with the photocopies because the value of some of the cards is so high.
Oh yeah, it's a thing in MTG, for example.
Yeah, they call it proxying.
Yeah, but most of the proxy cards they don't really yeah, no one's stupid enough to sell a proxy card, wouldn't.
You'd hope not. Although I do wonder with things like prop replicas, there are people who like to make replicas of things and put as much effort into making it an accurate replica as possible. And like Adam Savage says this a lot. What happens when that person dies or wants to get rid of their collection and someone comes across it not knowing that it's a 99% accurate replica?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, it might not have been created with the intent of ripping someone off, but could it rip someone off accidentally by being so damn good that it's a convincing fake?
Is it count? Would you say it's fraud in a sense?
I don't think that would be fraud because I think you'd have to. There's a legal concept. What is it? Mens rea, I think, which is guilty mind. I don't know, my Latin's a bit rusty. But basically, the concept is that for certain crimes, you have to prove that the person knew what they were doing and had the intent to commit a crime.
To show, so basically show cause in a sense.
Yeah, but only for some crimes.
Hmm.
There are other crimes where you will go to jail whether you can prove guilty mind or not. We're not lawyers, so
Yeah.
don't take our legal advice.
We're not lawyers, and we will not be politicians as well. So, and yes, that's a very very terrible segue. I know you're gonna hate me.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, so apparently the US government has decided to make tariffs against Canada and Mexico and China.
Yeah,
Uh
the Canada and Mexico ones have been postponed for a bit.
yeah.
They managed to reach an agreement.
Oh, that's actually hilarious that happened, but yeah, so in relation to the tariffs, there's word going around that we might see the price of comic books rocket in price, and that's from Canada, for example.
Trump's coming for your comic books.
They're coming for our games. So
Yes, it's like they targeted gamers meme.
so yeah, yeah, in response to the U.S. government enacting a 25% tariff on goods importing from Canada and Mexico, and a 10% tariff on Chinese imports, Canada has implemented a 25% tariff on U.S. goods, and yeah, it's this will affect the production and distribution for comic book publishers, particularly on those that are printed in Canada and rely on Canadian paper.
Yeah, so have fun with that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's not going to happen now because they immediately, because they
Hmm.
came to a deal. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the tariffs get reinstated at some point, and then they'll probably take the excuse to increase the price even further and price gouge.
Yeah, I get that, but then on the other on even though we haven't seen much details about this, there is so this article they did talk about talk to a couple of insiders about this. Uh, some say it's some say like I'm not sure I share that pessimism, but it does feel like a shock to the system at a time when it's already feeling many shocks, including the Diamond Diamond Comic Books Chapter 11 bankruptcy for one. But another one said that based on Trump's previous term, I expect there'll be a back and forth posturing during that time. We finally know where the tariff percentages land and where exactly it impacts. At this point, we'll evaluate if it makes sense to move business to domestic printer, but my gut says it won't. But the most black pilled one comes from one source saying, "Will periodicals go away and everything be OGN, cheaper to print and ship from China? Will Trump rescind the tariffs? The majority of the direct market will close with the exception of DCBS, Midtown, Mile High, and My Comic Shop. Is that Chicken Little? I don't know, but the Chinese tariff is smaller, not as bad as it was in 2019, and less of an increase than that already baked in existing tariff."
And it would
Uh,
be hilarious, not in the way that lots of people would lose their jobs, but it would be a hilarious, just complete out of nowhere, out of left field for the entire comic book industry in the US to collapse overnight.
that oh man, if the comic book industry collapse, but because of this, that would just yeah, that would just be terrible. But it's interesting though
It
because
would. A lot of people would lose their jobs, and I would hate to see that. Like, the creative industries are struggling at the moment.
I get that. I get that they're struggling. They are struggling, but come on, let's be fair here. Like most of it was they brought it upon themselves. I mean, how terrible were the comics that have been coming out as of late?
Are they terrible, or have you just grown out of comics? You're
A
getting
bit of
old, man. These things are for kids.
a bit of column A and a bit of column B. Let's put it that way. But it did. But what you were saying earlier in terms of the comic book industry collapsing, collapsing. One comic book company has come out in response to the tariffs, saying that the standard price of $4.99 for a comic is no longer sustainable. And then that was Valiant Comics, by the way, that said it. This company is anticipating that the price of their standard floppy comic will increase by at least $1, making it $5.99 the new norm.
Sorry, did you just say floppy comic?
Yep, that's what they said. Floppy comics.
I suppose that makes sense, but we already have a word for that. It's paperback.
Uh-huh. I agree with you there. So yeah, Valiant's director Matthias Timarchi emphasized the need to reassess their production process and explore cost-effective alternatives, acknowledging that while larger publishers might absorb their increased cost, smaller publishers like Valiant will heavily rely on continued reader support during their challenging period.
Maybe they'll go digital. Like, surely they're doing all the art digitally anyway. So I know some comic publishers already publish digital form as well.
But the downside to like if you're going to go digital is the whole it's like I know we've been harping this on and on, but it's the whole idea of AI. Like comic book artists are using AI just to make a name for themselves.
Well,
And it's
having to print it out on paper doesn't stop you using AI. You're still drawing it in whatever program you use to draw comics. If you use AI as part of that process and then print it out on paper, that's still the same as using AI and then publishing it in an app.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in terms of if you're using it on digital, you can easily discover. You can easily use a program to discover whether this artwork is AI drawn or not. And if you print it
Those
on
are
paper,
really unreliable.
really?
Yeah. Not as unreliable as what I saw once, which was an article about a teacher who inputted essays as the input to the AI and asked the AI, "Did you write this?" But those AI detector tools aren't miracle cures. They're not really any better, in my experience, at picking out AI created stuff than the human eye is.
I mean, asking the AI to create a tool to destroy itself, yeah, as if that's gonna happen. But what you're saying with with going through digital, it's not just it will reduce the price of printing it on paper, and it's also the problem of, yeah, you're gonna make collectors you're gonna make old school comic book fans hate the whole transition. I mean,
Yeah, but, we're already seeing other creative industries lose the feelies. When was the last time you bought a game and got feelies? I
oh,
can tell you it was 2013. I bought
yeah.
Metro Exodus, and it came with a little torch.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
No, not Metro Exodus, sorry, Metro Last Light.
yeah, the collector's editions and all, yeah, yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned that, I feel sorry for the Kickstarter comic creators. How would they have to deal with all this?
I imagine they would have to keep publishing digital.
Hmm,
Like, the comic creators that we've spoken are all publishing digital anyway,
yeah.
because the indie creators don't have the budget to do a print run. Unless you're like Olin Rogers and you get a million people to pre-order a print run, Final Space Ends.
Oh yes, yeah. It's gonna be. I know the tariff wars have kind of have sort of ended, sort of. But I don't know. This is gonna be the comic book industry is going to be a very very big victim of this if they stop the tariffing for good.
You want to try to say that again?
No, no. Actually, you can cut that line.
No, I'm not.
I'm just gonna say that the comic book fans are gonna be really really sad during this tariff wars,
I think there are a lot of people who are going to be really sad because of tariffs.
but it won't be the fans of big comic books though. It'll be the fans of indie comics because yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. As you said, they don't have the capital like Marvel and DC have for
Yeah, so
Image.
speaking of Final Space Ends, I do wonder if he's going to have trouble. I have no idea where he's getting the print run done. I wonder if he's going to have to increase the price because of the tariffs.
Oh no. I can totally see it now. Olin putting a Kickstarter message right now saying, "Hey guys, because of these tariffs, we're gonna have to jack up the prices a bit. Uh or maybe they'll have to cover it through delivery and keep the price of the printing and stuff intact."
Yeah, hopefully he's already got a contract and that won't be affected by the tariffs. I'm not sure how that works exactly.
At least at least the biggest benefactors of these tariffs will be the banks. Again, terrible segue, I know.
Yeah, and the banks won't benefit from the tariffs
How so? I
because the
mean,
banks don't do physical products.
yeah, but
So
they're
there's already no need for a tariff on a bank.
yeah, but then all they care about is the influx of money.
Yeah, they'll probably be sad because the tariffs will cause a recession, or they will be like, but it won't be because of the tariffs directly.
And speaking of banks, Mastercard has planned to get rid of credit card numbers. You know, the lovely 16-digit numbers on the cards.
Yep,
And this will be done by 2030 in a move designed to stamp out identity theft and fraudulent use of cards.
that's really interesting.
Hmm.
Hey, DJ, what's the number on your card?
I am not going to say it out loud.
Don't worry, I'll put a sensor over it.
No. No. Don't give me that peer pressure crap.
Oh, that's cute. You think you're one of my peers.
Really?
So, what are they doing with the numbers?
So they'll be replaced with tokenization and biometric authentication. So the tokenization part, this will convert the 16 card numbers into a different number or token stored on your device. So card information is never shared when you tap your card or phone or make payments online. And the biometric side, for anyone curious, it'll be just enabling payments with a smile or a wave of the hand.
Yeah, that sounds totally secure. My big problem with biometrics, which is mentioned in this article, is that if somebody does manage to steal your biometric data, you can't change it.
Nope.
You can change your password, but you can't change your fingerprint.
That's true. That's true. Unless if the bank monitors your spending habits and go, hey man, is this your account? You found someone spending $300 worth of tech stuff on eBay. Is this you?"
Well, they already do.
Man, yeah, you are right. It does it is going to be hard to monitor to track your spending with a thumbprint.
It would be about the same difficulty because you're just shifting the burden of identification from the card that you hold
Hmm.
to your fingerprint or whatever biometric item they choose. And in theory, you can only authenticate a biometric test in one place at one time. You can't be putting in your thumbprint in two different countries at the same time.
And what's interesting is this article says there are benefits to removing credit card numbers. Removing numbers, it stops fraudsters processing unauthorized card not present transactions, and it also reduces the potential for financial damage of victims exposed in data breaches if organizations are no longer able to store these payments. And the example of the storage of personal information they used is do you remember the Optus breach?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, so apparently removing the ability of organizations to store payment details in the first place removes the risk of this information being exposed in any future attacks.
Yeah, that makes sense. It if they don't have the information, it can't be stolen from them, which is what I wish more companies would realize. That you don't need all of my personal information. Stop collecting it. Let me be private.
I mean, there are, I mean,
I know you're listening to me, Google.
now that you mentioned Google, there are cases in Europe, if I recall, that you could actually ask Google to disappear you.
Like the vacuum salesman in Breaking Bad.
Yes, like the accurate sales of it are Breaking Bad. No, as in like they'll remove you from the Google database.
Yeah, the right to be forgotten.
Yeah.
I wish we had that right in Australia.
But while there are benefits to this, the potential problems have been brought up about this. So Mastercard has said customers will use tokens generated from by the customer's banking app or biometric authentication instead of card numbers. So one problem is many senior consumers and those with disabilities who do not use digital banking services, they'll be excluded from new protection. And offenders already access victims' phones through mobile porting and impersonation scams. And these attacks are likely to escalate as new ways to exploit potential vulnerabilities.
Yeah, SMS as a 2FA is really. You should always be using one of the authenticator apps like Microsoft Authenticator or Google's Authenticator because it's so easy to call up a phone company and say, I lost my phone or whatever, and they'll give you a new SIM card with your number on it.
Oh
But
yeah,
they don't
yeah.
check to make sure it's actually you calling.
What about QR codes? Like using a QR code to access to your bank account. Is that will that help in a sense, or will that be a bad
Well,
idea?
a QR code is just an encoding of data that you take a photo of. It can be read optically, and you can make that be anything. Usually, it's a website link. So I'm not sure what you mean by using a QR code to log into your bank. But
You
I
know,
would
like
say that you'd be better off with an RSA token, which gives you a randomly generated 6-digit code, than a QR code that anyone could take a photo of.
there's also concerns for the use of biometrics. So, unlike credit card details, which can be replaced when exposed to a data breach, biometrics are fixed. So, shifting a focus to biometrics increase the attractiveness of this data, and potentially open victims to ongoing irreversible damage. And there have been breaches of biometric data. So, one example they used is the web-based security platform BioStar2 in UK exposed the fingerprints and facial recognition details of more than 1 million people. And another case, and this happened in Australia, OutterBox, where IT provider company entertainment company's OutterBox is alleged to have exposed facial recognition data to more than 1 million Australians.
Yep, you can't change your face.
And it will cost a lot to change your face.
Makes me wonder whether getting a tattoo would help. I
Oh
do
no.
remember reading about insane clown posse makeup being used adversarially against facial recognition.
Did it work?
Yeah, it works surprisingly well.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Yeah, juggalo makeup. Yeah. So, okay, with all that's been read about this, you reckon this is the right time to move out from the use of cards, or you reckon there needs to be more time? I mean, 2030 is not that it's not that far away, but is it a necessary thing?
I don't know. I kind of like having the card as a factor of authentication. Like, smartphone payments are nice, but when your phone goes flat, you're stranded.
Yep.
So I always carry a card in my wallet as a backup just in case my phone goes flat or there's no signal. They mention Amazon's Just Walk Out, which is biometric based, but you might remember a few months ago, it turned out the AI behind that actually stood for another Indian.
Oh no, I think I vaguely remember that story.
Yeah,
No.
their AI and facial recognition and all that was tracking your purchases at Amazon's Just Walk Out stores was so bad that they had a team of people, Indians, who were reviewing almost every decision made by the system.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what the hell, guys? So this is just off outsourcing, but in a nicer way. But you saying about the use of phones, it's interesting. There was a 50%, 58% growth in mobile wallet payments to $146.9 billion.
That's a lot of money to steal.
Oh yeah. And what's interesting with the level of technology that we're seeing in terms of walking out and the use of cameras, weight sensors, and other advanced AI technologies. Do you remember that article I posted on the on a group chat once upon a time about one company wanting to introduce another program in terms of monitoring people's shopping?
No, I don't.
Hang on a second. I remember your response was, "Yeah, hell no, I'm not doing this." Yeah, here we go. It was so one of the AI companies working with Microsoft to facial recognition technology in stores to identify customers. This can allow shoppers to see prices differently based on their profiles.
Oh, that. Yeah, no. I mean, all of the technology is in place for them to already do that with, like, loyalty cards. They wouldn't even need the loyalty cards because they could just track your card number for your credit or debit card. Yeah, it's not something I'm interested in seeing though.
Although it's interesting, as soon as that revelation came out, the store said, "We're fiercely denying this new facial recognition policy after worried customers threatened, quote, will not be shopping there." And this is going to affect a lot of businesses as well that rely on FPOS, like actual cards.
Yeah, they'll have to get whole new hardware.
Like, you know how when like you would go to a certain shop, that a couple of shops would say like, "Oh, we don't use we don't use card, we use cash only." And what is it like if you use like if you're a shop owner, like you have to pay like 2% to the bankers using FPOS payments?
Yeah, they charge a surcharge. Use tap and pay. That's what the people who the cash is king people are on about.
Yeah.
They reckon that by using cash, they can avoid surcharges for a card. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are also using it to avoid paying taxes.
And I am one of those cash is king. Yes, cash is king. Although management, the aspect of cash. That's going to be interesting. The cash debate, cash versus card debate. How that's going to be even more fiercer in the coming years.
Yep, we're in a time of great societal change.
But that be, I understand the whole great societal change, but here's my other problem. I mean, yeah, sure, technology is coming in and it will improve your lives, and you might get incidents where technology will screw you over. Like, remember that Microsoft blackout that happened a couple months back before the
Yep.
Olympics started? Like, yeah, like, what's the likelihood that's gonna happen again?
Well, it wouldn't even need to be something that big. One
Hmm.
of my favorite short stories is Computers Don't Argue, about a
Oh
guy
boy.
who bought a book by mail order. This was like the 50s, so it was 50s or 60s, I can't quite remember. But it was a hypothetical about what would happen if you put computers in charge of it. This guy buys a book by mail order, they send him the wrong book. He sends it back, but it doesn't get logged in the system properly, so they keep chasing him for money. And eventually they pass them on to debt collectors and the police. And because it's going through all these automated systems, uh, I won't spoil the ending, but the automated systems pick up different things from his case. And like one of the books was kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. And they're like, right, so this guy kidnapped Robert Louis Stevenson. Oh, by the way, Robert Louis Stevenson is dead, so he must have also murdered Robert Louis Stevenson, and so on and so on.
Oh
It's a really great
Jesus.
short story.
Anyways, on that note, we should wrap it up, hey.
We should.
Anyways, where can they find us, Professor?
Everywhere.
Hey, everywhere. Yeah, they can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. Anyways, that's all we have for this week. Stay happy, stay nerdy. See you guys.
Look after yourself, stay hydrated, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah,